In this video, I want to focus in several topics that would take me too long to create one video for each one. So it's going to be pretty long probably, but worth watching if you're interested in ADVAITA, if you're interested in liberation. In ADVAITA, we talk about open focus awareness, resting awareness, in awareness, or as awareness. But what about focusing attention in something concrete and focus the attention? Is that something positive or not? Well, this has been, in fact, recommended in many yogic texts where you are encouraged to focus the attention, for example, on the breath. So what is about this? Does it work? Is it something worthwhile? Well, there is something very positive about focusing the attention in something that you love, in something that you are emotionally involved. For example, in something creative. If you are creating whatever, it could be a piece of art, it could be some craft, it could be a video, whatever you want, but where there is not just attention there, but also there is an emotional component involved that makes the attention really focus. And why this is valuable is pretty simple. When that is happening, you are not thinking about you. You're not thinking about this fictional self, the ego. And then you're lost in the moment. You're totally present. And it's a nice state. It's beautiful. And all creativity that has been expressed in the world, in our civilization and past civilizations, comes to a great degree from that intense focus in something that somebody loved to do. I worked with children that had ADD, and I can tell you that when they are really into something, when they are really interested in something, the ADD is gone. They are immersed in the action, in the doing, and their focus is intense. So even if you have a tendency to lose focus, it doesn't matter. If you find something that you really like and love to do, your attention will be there, and you will lose yourself in the doing, and you will actually lose the ego, at least momentarily, in that doing, which is a great thing. It's very healthy for the mind-body organism, and at that moment there is no suffering. There is immersion. Flow has been called also in psychology. Now, it's more difficult when you are asked to focus into something that you may not have the passion, like focusing on the breath. It's more challenging, and if you have some ADD, that technique will probably not work that well for you. So you may look into other alternatives to focus attention. The term Brahma in Sanskrit is used to point to the divine, and the pointer, there is just Brahma here, is a very interesting pointer, and I recommend that you try it. There is just Brahma here. What that means that everything you are seeing, everything you are listening to, everything you are touching, everything you are smelling, everything you are tasting, and the mind-body organism through which all this happening in this micro universe, and plus attention itself, awareness itself, all is Brahma. So the pointer, there is just Brahma here, it's a pointer to wholeness, to the totality. Alternatively, you can use the word wholeness to refer to the same thing, the whole thing, not just the divine as the formless, but also as form, also as this that is perceptible, and awareness that is looking at form, the formless looking at form, the totality, we call it wholeness. The totality is what the word wholeness is pointing to be that totality. That totality, that micro-universe around you, around your mind-body organism actually. That totality is what you are really. That's completely non-dual. Of course, consciousness itself, when you withdraw the attention to pure consciousness, consciousness itself is non-dual. But here you are incorporating also the form. So formless and form together now, one. Yeah. In the Indian scriptures they say nature and spirit, or spirit and nature dancing together, awareness and form dancing together, eventually just wholeness, complete non-duality. Advaita means non-duality. Begin to notice where is attention in your experience. Is it in thought? Is it in feelings? Is it in the first chakra or the second chakra or the third chakra? Is it in sexual feelings or spiritual feelings or creative feelings or loving feelings? Where is attention? Begin to notice where is attention. Then you can theoretically bring attention to something, right? Or there is another technique that is not controlling attention, but just being okay where the attention is naturally flowing in this wholeness. When the mind-body organism is tired, when the brain needs a pick-me-up, here is something that can help. The inverted postures in Hatha Yoga are the king of the postures. In fact, the headstand is called the king of the asanas. But any posture that brings a lot of blood to the brain is healing. It gives you energy. It changes your state of consciousness, so to speak. And you can attain this with a very simple posture, which is you're standing up and then you bring the head down, still standing up. You bend a little bit your knees, don't force them, and you stay there with your head down for about a minute or so. What I like to do is to count the natural breaths that are flowing, right? And then you count 20 breaths, for example, any number you want. Naturally, natural flow of the breath, and you just count as you have your head hanging down. Let me show you the posture. Your arms are also, of course, hanging down. And when you bring your head back up again, bring the body first, very slowly, leave your head down, and at the end, slowly you raise your head with eyes closed. Many times this brings a great relief, more energy into the brain, more blood flow to the brain. And when you look at the work of Daniel Amen about the brain, you will see that most mental disorders are the result of low blood flow to a particular part in the brain. In some cases it's excess blood flow to a particular part of the brain, but many times is, or most of the time is, low flow, restriction. So experiment with this, and it's also important from, of course, from the ADVAITA perspective, because if your brain is not working correctly, it's very difficult that any technique or any method or even ADVAITA methods will really work. Still they can work, but it's more challenging, of course. So keep your brain in the best conditions you can. Here you have a good tool that is easy to practice. It takes a minute. The world is going through many changes and difficult times, and perhaps you in your own life, you're going through difficult times. So keep in mind this: the divine is in charge of everything, the whole thing, the whole enchilada. Nobody has actually any power. It's an illusion. The divine is completely in charge, and the purpose of consciousness in allowing this or that to happen in duality is for the evolution of the mind-body organism and its subtle bodies, especially the subtle bodies, meaning the astral and the causal bodies, because the physical eventually goes, right? But here we need the physical. We need to keep the physical also in good conditions. So you can use the pointer. The divine is in charge of everything. Just relax. The divine is in charge of everything. Just relax. Look, to a great degree, embodiment of the awakening is surrender. And surrender is embodiment. Surrender, embodiment is surrender, surrender is embodiment. Surrender all concerns, just relax. The divine consciousness is in charge of everything, because it's the only real. Everything else is a fiction. So here is where you see the devotional path, the bhakti path, which in its highest expression is about surrender, and the Advaita, the wisdom path, meeting. How they meet at this point? Well, through Advaita you realize that there is just the divine, and then you conclude, oh, so everything is happening by the will of the divine, therefore I can relax, can surrender. In the bhakti path, you practice surrender from the beginning until your life is completely surrendered to consciousness. That's where the path of wisdom and the path of love meet, in surrender. Now, who is surrendering? Oh, the mind-body organism is surrendering all its programs and expectations and ideas of how things should be, and so on. It's surrendering all that. Not you. You are consciousness. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. You can try. If there is a symptom in the body and you try to expand and rest as open awareness, and you can't because of the symptom, then you tell yourself the following pointer: expand anyway, and see what happens. You let the symptom be and expand anyway. Sometimes you actually need to address the symptom one way or another, and sometimes it's faster also. But sometimes the symptom can be very, whatever symptom is going on in the mind-body organism, feeling or whatever, can be very stubborn, and it's not going away, and then try as you may, stays there. Then you can use this. Oh, expand anyway into pure consciousness or into wholeness, into the totality. So here is a question that possibly you have had. Is the brain biochemistry or brain chemistry and the body chemistry capable of preventing you to get in contact with the divine completely? There is information in the spiritual literature indicating that even great sages have gone through moments as they approach the destruction of the body at the end of life, the breaking down of the whole biochemistry. They went through periods of time that they felt very disconnected with the divine. So don't blame yourself. If that is the case, just do the best you can. Accept what is, accept everything, accept including the fact that you are not being able to connect. Acceptance is surrender. I invite you to explore the following question: what requires more energy? To rest as open awareness, meaning expanding as pure awareness, or rest as the wholeness? Which one requires more energy to be sustained? Or which one requires no energy to be sustained? notice that when you bring awareness just to pure consciousness, then you are saying no to form. Naturally, every sentient being is looking for happiness. So, make the mind happy, said Ramana Maharshi. I would say nothing wrong with make the body happy also, providing that it's not through some addiction, right? Or something negative, damaging to others. Very common these days, unfortunately. So, what can give you permanent happiness? Only that, which is non-dual. You want to be detached from desires, expectations, and on, and have at the top of the list, the mind-body organism needs to have at the top of the list of all its whims, desires, goals, motivations, expectations, at the top of the list, the divine first. Yogananda said God first, and he really emphasized this point, this aspect of the spiritual life, God first. And he was right. It's just that, well, in Advaita we use a different name. We said the non-dual experience first. Advaita first. Advaita means non-duality. This is essential in order to attain liberation. It has to happen at some point. That you're not seduced, your heart is not seduced by the things of the world, anything in the world of forms. So you can begin to educate the mind-body organism by reminding it, this cannot give you the happiness that you truly want. That, yes, you want that, but it cannot give you the happiness that you really want. Nothing can. The pointer in an impersonal language would be on the other hand, the path of the marketplace is different than the mountaintop path. In the mountaintop path, you renounce all your desires and you simplify your life to the minimum in order to do not look for anything, look for any fulfillment in duality, and you focus completely in your spiritual practices. In the marketplace path, we don't do that, and very few today are practicing the mountaintop path. This is not the time in the planet to practice that. So, except for a few. Plus, the marketplace path seems to be higher, because it's the learning to live in the world but not being of the world. So in the marketplace path, you pursue your worthwhile desires, but you don't pursue your evil desires or negative desires or any desire that may arise in the mind-body organism that is not harmonious. You just don't. You pursue only worthwhile desires, and you make sure that even those are below your highest desire, which is the desire for enlightenment or liberation, the desire for ADVAITA. There is a pathway in the brain called the dopamine pathway. There are techniques, methods, and substances to keep your dopamine levels high enough. Not too high, because that creates problems, but high enough. And many people today have dopamine deficiencies. There are many ways, through supplements and lifestyle changes, that can keep your dopamine pathway in the right place. And there is value in doing this, because if your levels of dopamine go down too low, then it's much more difficult to have that contact with the divine. Not impossible, but much more difficult. So investigate how you can optimize your dopamine pathway, how you can optimize your dopamine levels. You can look into the course on brain optimization through nutrition. We're going through times where there is very little respect for the power of the body to heal itself and to protect itself. So I want to recommend here that you trust your body. Let's say you cut your finger with a knife. If you make a big fuss and you begin to put alcohol and this and that, and you become hyper concerned about the cut, it may take longer to heal. If you just say, oh, the body is going to take care of this, it knows how to do it, right? Trust the body. Then you put a band-aid there and forget about it. The next day is healed. So the same applies to any condition. If you trust that the body can do the job, it will do it for you. If you don't trust, it will likely not do it for you. Trust your body. Your body is loaded with the wisdom of consciousness. Consciousness created the body. Consciousness is the body. So consciousness can do anything and everything. This is an amazing lab. Trust the body, and that trust will help the body to give you good health. The body can heal anything and everything, which ultimately is consciousness can heal anything and everything, because the wisdom of consciousness is in the body.